It's that time again as we welcome you back into another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode number 209 coming to you on Monday, March 24th, or later on in the future, depending on your listening habits. My name is Chris Salona, and I'm here with Ethan Shalloway. Ethan, what's happening, brother? How are we doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Chris. Hello to everybody out there in the in this wonderful wide world that we live in.
That's the thing, Ethan. The people are out there.
The people are out there, and they're everywhere. We have listeners from all over the globe, and we're pretty thankful for that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be in an international community setting.
Yeah, man. I would agree with that.
Yeah, man. I'm doing really well. We are recording this on Sunday. I kind of like, it's kind of nice when you can record it and then it gets edited and then gets dropped like right away. It's like 24 hours is the only break it's like the only sliver of time that the podcast occupies for the week. It's kind of nice. So yeah, we got a good episode ahead. Pretty excited.
Yeah, we do.
Chris, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. Yeah, it's a nice Sunday. This weekend was pretty nice. I haven't really had too much to do, which was nice because this past week, it wasn't like there was nothing out of the ordinary really going on, but it was just a long week. It was a tough week. Had to fight hard a little bit to get through it. Worked hard.
Yeah.
So this weekend was a nice reprieve. I just kind of chilled, watched a bunch of college basketball, and I had some chicken shawarma last night. That was fucking heat.
Shrooms.
Chicken. That's next weekend. But yeah, dude, things are good. Glad this is the only thing on my calendar today.
Right.
So we'll knock this out and get this to the people tomorrow. So
yeah, likewise. I had a busy full week. A lot of work, a lot of training.
How's training going? When are you opening up?
I'm going to open up mid-April. It's like April 12th at a meet in Alabama.
3 weeks away, give or take.
Yeah, like 3 weeks away. So,
damn.
Yeah. And I had like a small injury that I had to deal with a couple weeks ago in my shoulder, some compression. And so I've been kind of getting back into it the last 3 weeks. And this week was a big week to get some volume and some good training. It went really well. And then next week is also very important. So I also did not do too much this weekend, just rested, watched some basketball, got a little lift in. But today, all I got to do after this, I'm going to hit the sauna before Kentucky and Michigan State play later, not against each other, but separately. And, but I did, Chris, I almost had a perfect week.
Almost.
Right? I almost threw a perfect game. And when I say that, I said I almost packed every day and ate dinner at home every day. I almost went, I guess 5 for 5. So I started off strong. Actually, Sunday, I made a crock pot. And my general plan of attack is I make dinner and then I take the leftovers for lunch. And if I do that every night and I make enough, because
everything takes care of itself at that point.
Everything is self-sustaining. Exactly. Like you should have the right amount. And I was kind of on fire. I did a bunch of crock pots this week, and I made a few some oven stuff. So trying to minimize dishes because I just get home late most days. So every day except for Friday, I woke up a little bit late, and on Thursday I had eaten. I think I ate everything, and I was at the end of the groceries, and so I was a little lax on my Friday lunch. I got a little fast food, but it was only $10, and then I held true for dinner, and then Saturday I didn't spend any money on
and that's the crowning achievement.
And dining out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about the psychology of meal prepping that you're just married to the idea of getting through Monday through Friday, and then your meal prep runs out naturally on Friday afternoon. And then you've got Friday dinner and then Saturday lunch and dinner to figure out what you're doing before you get back into the saddle on Sunday. That's what always happens to me. I made it through Friday, but then yesterday, I ended up, as I said, I got a little chicken shawarma situation for dinner. I had shawarma on the brain, man, and I would not be denied. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude, you earned it.
I earned it. Yeah, it's you said a little bit earlier.
That's the best part about the weekends. You earned it.
Exactly. I took care of everything during the week. It was good. Training wise for weightlifting, like we're also in like a very big volume phase right now. So like we're doing like I did 8s in the front squat. I was doing like, 4, 6, 8 in the back squat, a bunch of complexes. And I always forget how much I enjoy tapping into like the volume lifting mindset. And then I'm immediately reminded of how enjoyable it is just to kind of like lock in on a longer set and just crush through some stuff. So I'm feeling good, feeling strong right now, and I'm eating a lot of food, and it's good. Full steam ahead.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Love
dude.
to hear that we're both doing well. We're both kind of back on track. And
Oh yeah.
and then same thing with the podcast. We were giving a pretty traditional anniversary podcast.
We're back in black.
We are back. Silverchair's Frogstomp, their debut album, turns 30 on Wednesday.
Yeah, on the
27th?
27th is Thursday. Yeah, so this Thursday
27th.
will mark 30 years of Frogstomp.
Came out in 1995. So we're going to go through and talk about the album, how old they were when they released it, kind of maybe go through song by song, and just the general thoughts on the band Silverchair, which we've talked about a few times on this page, but also I don't think we've designated a whole episode to this album, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're keeping score at home, we can check off the list another Patreon request. So when A Bit Dusty joined, Silverchair Frogstomp was an episode that they had submitted. So we're happy to check that one off the list. And then also, I think it was last week we read that comment that we got on YouTube that somebody who listens bought a ticket to the Wonder Years sight unseen. And then in their follow up, they said, like when are we getting some Frogstomp action? So hopefully there's going to be at least 2 people out there that are very pleased to see this episode come into their queue. So we're excited about that. And if you're interested in getting a topic taken care of, I have some news for you. It's very easy. All you have to do is join the Patreon, and we will reach out to you, and you can suggest an episode topic that we will accomplish in time and add it to our queue. And we can ring the bell for the first time in a little bit. We have a new Patreon supporter joining the ranks. The first ever individual in the $3 tier. Rory C., if you're out there listening, you joined the $2 tier, but then you decided to increase your contribution, really going above and beyond, which is great. So thank you, Rory C., for supporting. And, we always kind of like to do a little survey when somebody joins and figure out, what exactly it was that got them to join. And Rory C. writes in and they say, "Hey, guys, I'm a fan of the Instagram page and the podcast, so I decided, fuck it. May as well support what these guys are doing, as I think it's really cool." And that's how simple it is.
Yep.
All it is like, hey, this is cool. Fuck it. I'm going to support it.
Caution to the wind.
Yeah. It really does. Like people make things way too complicated. Like it's as simple as Rory made it out to be, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I love the extra dollar contribution.
Yeah.
Making his own tier, burning his own path. And that extra dollar, you think about that over the course of a year, that's extra $12, Chris.
Yeah.
That takes care of a $12 subscription for 1 month of the year. That's big.
Yeah. That's like a month of Zoom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if 12 people would increase by $1, if 12 people if you go from the $2 to the $5, you're going to take care of 3 months yourself.
That's exponential. Yeah, man.
So let's think about Rory and think about what he's done and say,
he's really setting the tone here.
Am I able to be like him? Can I do this? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So thank you for joining, Rory. We're looking forward to tackling your episode suggestion here in the future. We'll keep that under wraps for now. But I would also like to thank the individuals who support us at the top tier on Patreon. And I suppose the option still exists for them to increase, from the top tier to an even higher tier.
Go God tier. So, go be above and beyond. We've never had that.
No, we've never had that. $10 is the max. And all of these individuals right now that I'll read are operating at the max. They're redlining the engine, but somebody's car can go a little faster.
We'll do something special for that too.
Oh yeah. We might have to have them on if they decide to do that.
100%.
So the candidates as of now for that offer, we'd like to thank A Bit Dusty, who this episode was suggested by. Black Hole Sean, Doug Endy, D-Boat, Apona, Eddie Vetter got me through my second divorce, Jamie Lynn, Jade Mercado, Gochu John, Carlene Salona, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, Millie, The Michael Dooley Project, Nikki Six, Russell, Sherry Matthews, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Sunshine Slackers, Abraham's the cutest basset hound ever, and What the Fuck is Up Denny's. So thanks, gang. Appreciate your continued support. And yeah, let's keep this thing rolling, man.
Let's do it. Thank you, everybody. So the next part of the show is one of our favorites that we love doing, and that is This Day in Music.
Oh, yeah.
So March 24th throughout the years, this is very important that we do this every time because the first thing is exactly why we do it. The first event. Yeah. This is great.
It's a comparatively weak day in music history, March 24th, but we are starting off with a bang. Ethan, I'll let you take it away.
I mean, this is all we need, really.
Yeah.
So in 1958, Elvis Presley is drafted to the U.S. Army, where he served in active duty for 2 years and achieved a rank of sergeant. So the king does it all once again.
Dude, he's unbelievable, and as it happens, when he was drafted, he had the option of kind of taking like a preferable post and just like being an entertainer while he was in the Army, but he said no, I want the real thing. So you know, he did everything, and he was stationed, I believe, in Germany for the majority of his time on active duty. And that's, you know, the king's doing it out here, man. That's
amazing. I mean. Yeah, what a selfless man. I just began watching Peaky Blinders, as I said off air, and in the one scene, Cillian Murphy's doing a deal with one of the coppers, and he puts him in a corner so that a copper has to say yes, and he's like, "I'm not going to shake your hand." He's like, I'd rather not shake your hand after this." And Cillian stands up, and the big thing is these are gangsters, and they just came back from fighting in the war with France.
Yep.
And he walks over. He said, "Why would I ever shake a hand? Why would I ever shake the hand of a man who didn't fight for his country?" And he walks out.
Wow.
And it was it was heat.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I just think that Elvis, like he fought for his country. You know, I love it.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't let anybody forget about that when he got back.
I'm sure he didn't.
Let's move forward here. On this day in 1976, esteemed musician Peyton Manning was born. So happy, 49th birthday to Peyton Manning. In my opinion, the second best quarterback of his era behind Tom Brady. But obviously one of the greats, and he's an entertainer now, man.
He is. He's a great one too.
I'm into the Manning cast stuff. I'm into what they're doing. I think it's cool. I know a lot of people kind of think it's overblown or whatnot, but I'm down with it.
So Chris, we've been really enamored by the talk show hosts, the announcers, the news or sports announcers, and the different PTIs of the world, and we talk about a lot how when those voices die, not both, I guess, physically, but also when they're off air for the final time, who's going to take their spot? And I would say Peyton Manning has really carved out, like it's been a few years now he's been doing this, and he's carved out this awesome, like, who knows, in 10 years we may talk, like Peyton could be that sound that we love. I mean, Tom Brady's also in there as well, but like
Tom won't stick it out though. I don't think he's got a 10-year contract with Fox. I don't think he makes it through those 10 years, but Peyton, like, he's kind of like passed the test. Yeah, he's passed the test because I think he's been doing the Manning cast for 3 years now, and if it was just the novelty of it that was sustaining it and getting people to tune in, it would have worn off by now. But they've carved out a really solid niche, and I'll flip over and watch a little bit of that. And it takes me a lot to get away from Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a testament to, I think, the job that Peyton and Eli are doing, that I'll tune in and kind of see what's going on there. It's always entertaining with the guests too.
It is, yeah. I do enjoy it. It's tough. Like, I like hearing the crowd noise and like the actually like feeling in it. So sometimes they get over there and like if they have Collinsworth on, he'll just start ranting about differences. But I love Collinsworth, but like he'll start talking about who knows what, and they won't even be watching the game, it seems like.
Yeah, dude.
Anyway, so moving to the year 2000, Meg and Jack White get divorced. And no, they were not brother and sister.
Because that was the legend that they put forth at the time.
Yeah.
I think when they first started.
I still believe it.
It's interesting too. So they divorced in 2000, and I believe they were together in a band until 2011. Right. And some of their albums came, post divorce. Some of the ones that have the greatest critical acclaim. And I have to imagine, I wonder what that would be like being in a band and having your ex husband or wife as a coworker.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, office relationships are hard enough. Right?
When your office is like every stage across the world, when thousands of people want to see you play. Good for them though for figuring that out, I suppose.
Yeah, happy divorce anniversary.
Yeah, I wonder if they celebrate that.
Do people celebrate that?
I've heard of like this phenomenon of people having, how they have the engagement parties. Some people will have divorce parties.
Wow.
So, hey,
I mean, how would I know?
Never pass up the opportunity for other people to get you a gift, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you're always on the take, you never know what you're going to get.
That's good.
Absolutely. One more event, which is not on this day, but is on tomorrow, which would be March 25th. Tomorrow will mark 3 years since Taylor Hawkins passed away. And I can't believe it's already been 3 years, dude. I remember that. I think that it
seems longer at the same time.
Yeah, it was a Friday or a Saturday night. I remember when the news started to break that he had died, and I was at home, and I think I immediately texted you, and I think we ended up recording like an episode like the next morning about it. But still, man, what an awful loss. So young, such a obviously talented musician, and unbelievable person by all accounts too. And yeah, 3 years, dude.
Yeah, really hard. One of my favorite drummers. One of the bigger bands that obviously in the world. And you can't replace somebody like that. You can only try to, move on with a little bit of his energy still flowing through you, Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll definitely take some time on the page tomorrow to commemorate that and remember him. And always a good chance to reach out to everybody and ask them to share their stories of seeing Taylor live, or if they had the opportunity to meet him or chat with him over the years. It's always nice to hear those reflections, and I think in a lot of ways, like recalling those memories and talking about them as a way that you keep somebody's memory alive, whether they're a loved one or a public figure who you admired, or an artist. So definitely an important thing to do every single year as these anniversaries pass.
All right, and that wraps up this day in music, these few days in music, that is, and we'll get to
strange days.
Yeah, and then we'll move forward to Wednesday, the anniversary. But before we do that, Chris, you saw a show on Thursday night. I don't want to skip over this.
Yeah, we've got a report from the road.
We haven't had a concert review in a while. I guess I don't know, how many concerts have you seen in the new year?
This is only my second. I saw Foster the People in Toronto last month, but I didn't have enough thoughts really to kind of give a report on it. Sure. But that's able to change now. So we have our first report from the road of 2025 here. So on Thursday, which I think was March 20th, I saw Helmet came through on their Betty 30th anniversary album anniversary tour. But most importantly, my friends and we went up to the Helmet show to see the second opener, which is a band from Norway called Slomosa. And they're a stoner rock band. And this was the first US tour of substance that they've done. They played a handful of gigs in 2024 in support of Alkaline Trio. And it was really weird. Nice. So my friends and we've been fans of Slomosa for probably a year, 2 years now. And they came over here last fall to do the Alkaline Trio tour, and it was such an eclectic group of bands. It was Slomosa, who's a stoner rock band. It was Spanish Love Songs, who's like pop punk, and then it was Alkaline Trio, who I'm not entirely positive of what genre you would fall into there.
2010s heavy rock.
Yeah, it was just such a weird.
I used to like them a lot.
Did you? Okay. Well, I just felt like it was
a lot.
Yeah, it was a really strange grouping of bands, I think, to tour together. And I remember at the time, I think they played somewhere in like New Hampshire and then Western Connecticut. So it was like a 3-hour drive for all of us if we wanted to go and see them. And I don't think the scheduling worked out. So we passed up on that opportunity. But then when we saw that they were supporting Helmet on the Betty anniversary tour, we knew we had to go up there. And dude, the first time in a little bit that I've gone to a show specifically for the opener, and first time in a while that I'd gone to a show of a band that I've been a fan of that I've been anticipating seeing live that I hadn't seen live, because I've had a lot of repeats the last year or so of like bands that I've seen for the second, third, fourth, and so on times. And they did not disappoint, dude. They played a 7-song set. They've released 2 studio albums so far. One called Tundra Rock just recently came out. And it was absolutely unbelievable. It was one of those moments too where like you go to a show, we were chatting with people around us, and we were like, who are you guys here to see, Helmet or Slomosa? And they're like, we're here to see Helmet. And like we didn't have to ask them, like we looked at them and like we could tell there were a lot there were a lot of Helmet heads out there for sure. They were strapping up the helmets. But it was one of those things where as Helmet got deeper and deeper, Slomosa got deeper and deeper into the set, that thing happened that happens sometimes with openers where people started to really get into it, whether they knew of the band or not. And there was an energy that existed in the room that doesn't happen all the time with the opening act.
Yeah.
And
it was exciting.
It was so exciting, dude. They played their 4-piece. They played their balls off, head banging, riffs flying everywhere, noise, vocals sounding exactly like they do on the studio album. And there was just this great energy to it. And, they finished their set with what I would presume to be their most popular song called Horses. And people go to the show with the plastic horse heads on, and they're headbanging with the horse masks on. And it was just absolutely, it was unbelievable. No brainer to go over to the merch table and grab a t-shirt. So I've got a Slomosa t-shirt now, and they were hanging by the merch table. So we got to thank them for coming out and try to cajole them into returning very soon on their own headlining tour. Hopefully they heeded 4 semi-drunk men's advice in Boston. And dude, it was great. It was one of the more exciting shows that I've been to in recent memory. And
that's
super
awesome.
pumped.
Do you
that
have the shirt handy by chance? I would love.
If you give me like 14 seconds,
I can fill the void.
You have the floor.
I can fill the void. I love getting a t-shirt at a concert that you're going to, because you never know when you're going to want that t-shirt to show your prestige later on in life. Right? This is prestige. This will be prestige in 10 years, Chris. That you have this shirt. Yeah, like. Oh yeah, the camel Tundra Rock. I love it. I love that they're from Norway. I've been in the Viking era, and like I went to Norway and like have some friends there, and I am so excited to listen to this band later today.
Oh yeah, you have to, man. And I tend to, I like to think that when I try to endorse bands and try to like convince my friends to listen to them, I take that seriously. You
can't just throw out
you can't just throw them out there. But like this one, I'm like, yo, like you have to listen to this because they were just absolutely unbelievable. And there's something very liberating about going to a show for the opening act, because once the openers are done, it's all bonus, and you can stay for as much or as little as you want to. And like we were just so enamored with
it's
Slomosa.
Like working out before 7 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole day. It's like you feel better than everybody else around you because you got done what you needed to get done. So we stayed. I think we stayed for like 5 or 6 of the songs from Helmet's set, but then we're like, hey, like we got everything out of this that we needed to. And I just like I've never really been a fan of Helmet. Like I've not listened to them much, if at all, so like I couldn't connect to it in the way that I had connected with Slomosa's set. So I think we were all thinking it, and we just looked at one another. It's like, you guys want to get out of here? And it was a Thursday night too. Like I had to work the next day, and I looked up afterwards. Helmet played from like 10 o'clock to 11:45, which would have absolutely cooked me for the next day. Yeah, we left early, and I still didn't get home until 1. So I think it was a good choice, and I got what I needed to get out of attending that show. And it was a heater, man. I think that part of the world has a lot of good music coming out of it, a lot of good rock music, and it's bands like that make plain just how tired of an argument it is that like good music is dead and people don't make good music anymore, because like it doesn't get any newer than a band like that who's like coming over here for really the first time, who's only released 2 albums, who's in it, and they have that that energy behind them that people say doesn't exist anymore. But I just have to imagine that, you know, the people that say that are lazy and they're not looking. You don't have to look very far. It's like they're touring with, you know, the people that say that know and revere Helmet. So like fucking, they're good enough to open for Helmet. Like, you know, you should listen and get excited about it a little bit. It's just a tired argument. And I think, you know, we always say like, oh, like rock's dead or whatever. Like, I think it's in good hands, dude. There's a lot of bands out there. And Slomosa, they're definitely one of them. And I would see them tomorrow again if I could. It was the same set. I wouldn't care. I would go and see them again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. The bands, there's good music out there. And when you say this, like, I'm excited to listen to them. And when finding a new band, it's like that perfect playlist, perfect songs that I was talking about. It's like, it's hard to explain why they're perfect to you, but they just are. And like when you listen to bands and you go through, like, sometimes bands will just catch you and just like, yeah, they're really good. Like, I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain why they're better. Yeah, it's like the energy behind it. And I'm expecting like listening to this and be like, and totally understanding, you know, why they're better than the bands that that people complain about.
Right.
I don't know if that made sense, but like there's just something there's a weird sensation with like finding new music where you find a band and you're just like, oh yeah, this band is gonna work. And you get really excited for it. So the other thing I was going to say, just because you brought up Alkaline Trio and that 2010 rock or whatever, and you know, it's so funny that like that era. I know so many bands, but because of the way we got music, where you download certain songs if you didn't buy the album, which now I'd be a liar if I said that I downloaded every album that I listened to. But like, it's funny because you kind of basically got like 3 songs per band, unless they were really big, then you get a few more. But
or you splurge like, and buy the album. But then you weren't buying the album, you were buying a greatest hits album.
Yeah, you have like an entry level understanding to like, I have an entry level understanding to like all these bands from that time.
Sure.
Like, am I a huge fan of Alkaline Trio? No, but I do know their big songs and I was there listening to it. But like, you know, you just have a tasting menu of all these bands from that time.
Yeah. I just found out Matt Skiba, is that how you pronounce it? He's an Alkaline Trio and he was in Blink for that period of like 2015 to 2022. Yep. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that makes sense why I was listening to them then too. I didn't realize that either, but that
for sure
makes sense.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, that's my endorsement of the week. Yeah, it was great. I'm definitely happy. It's always sounds silly because like in all reality, neither of us are that old, but like the older I get, it gets harder and harder to, mortgage up like a weeknight to drive up to Boston to go see a show. But it was so unbelievably worth it. And, I was with 3 of my buddies that I go to shows with pretty frequently. We always get to a few of them each year together. They're the lads that I saw Queens of the Stone Age with, Thousand Mods with, King Buffalo with. And
good stuff.
Yeah, it's just great. You have a couple beers with the boys and go listen to some rock music. My only wish is that we were a little bit closer to the stage. We ended up getting there right before Slomosa started, and it was fucking packed, dude. Like the people showed out for Helmet, and then they didn't know it at the time, but they were also showing out for Slomosa. I'd like to think there's a lot of new fans. Yeah, dude, it was good. It was really good.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Shout out to Helmet for bringing Slomosa on tour with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. So that's the report from the road. And let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. And that's going to be the Frogstomp album, which, as you said, turns 30 this week. Hard to believe considering they were just 15 when they started this. So in prepping for this episode and for the album review, as we typically do, we do a little bit of background on the album itself. And considering that this one really, started things off for them, considering they were so young, I learned for the first time specifically what Silverchair's background was and like their origin story and everything. So we'll just kind of go through it a little bit and chat about it. So Silverchair, as I think a lot of us may know, they were a 3-piece band. They were comprised of Daniel Johns on vocals and guitar, Ben Gillies playing drums, and Chris Joannou playing bass. So Ben Gillies and Daniel Johns, they went to the same school when they were lads, starting around age 10 or 11, and they began a band that they called the Silly Men. And that continued on for a little bit until they both entered the high school age, and they went to Newcastle High School, and they met Chris Joannou there in 1994, and the three of them got together to create a band that was known at the time as the Innocent Criminals. And what do you do when you're a band and you're 13, 14 kind of thing? You're making music together. You got to enter a music competition, and that's what these boys did. In 1994, there was a music competition in Australia going on called Youth Rock, and they ended up winning that one. And then they entered another one, which was a more prominent one. I think it was co-sponsored by a prominent radio station in Australia and also one of the prominent television stations, and it was called Pick Me. And they ended up winning that national competition, which the premise of it was you would submit a demo, and if you won, part of your prize was being able to get that song professionally recorded and creating a video.
Classic.
Absolutely classic. So those three submitted their demo of the song Tomorrow, which I think we all know and love very much so at this point. And they ended up winning naturally because it's a banger of a song. So they were able to go ahead and get that song professionally recorded and made into a video. And it was around that time that they won that competition and were going through the recording process and the video process that they rebranded from the Innocent Criminals into Silverchair. And as I learned just recently, the inspiration for the name came from the fourth novel in the C.S. Lewis a novel series, The Chronicles of Narnia, which I remember reading when I was in third grade. I think we read all of them, and I'd forgotten, but the fourth novel in that series is called The Silver Chair. So they put that together. There were a few other stories. There's one commonality throughout music where it's if you ask a band why they're named what they're named, you're probably going to get between 5 to 9 bullshit stories out of them over a period of several years until the truth comes out. And there were a couple of like stories that the band members ended up saying were untruthful before they said the C.S. Lewis one. I have to imagine maybe they thought their street cred would take a hit if they were named after a Chronicles of Narnia book, but the truth came out in time.
It's a good book.
Yeah, dude, it was good. I remember I was so into that series. Like we read them like as a class. And that was right around the time that the movie came out too. Yep. So it was absolutely top tier. So, they roll out the professionally recorded version of Tomorrow along with the video. And they're hitting like wildfire, man. Like they're the next big thing. Obviously with this being 94, 95, guitar driven rock is still the king. Everybody's listening to it. It's all over the place. So, people recognize and the powers that be notice that these three boys have some talent. So, the next no-brainer, they joined the contest, they won the contest. So, over in music world, the next logical thing is a good old-fashioned bidding war over the services of this band. So a bidding war happened over them, and the band ended up signing a 3-album contract with Murmur Records, which was a Sony Music subsidiary. And then in early 1995, they re-recorded and reshot a music video for Tomorrow, and they began working on their first album for that contract, which would become Frogstomp, and it was produced by Kevin the Caveman Shirley, who by this point had been a producer on a lot of different projects throughout the rock world. And these boys were off and running.
Yeah, I mean, that is awesome. And so another thing is the boys were still in high school, obviously, during this time.
Yeah.
And when they won the album...
Because I don't know if you know this, but they were just 15.
Yeah. And they talk about how the album took 9 days to record. And it was really simple because, what they did was the engineer and the producer was like, I just want it to be loud. I want the guitars to be loud. I want the vocals to be loud. The drums, like, I don't want to do too much. And the kids are like, Daniel Johns was quoted saying like, fuck yeah, like, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And when they actually recorded this, it was during spring break of their junior year, which is hilarious. And they did like in 9 days. They recorded in 9 days over Christmas break. Did I say spring break? I meant Christmas break.
Yeah.
And and I just think that's awesome. So then the next 2 years while they were still in high school is when they were touring this album, and they missed a lot of school. And I read that the principal, obviously allowed them to miss school and gave them some extra credit for their music careers and, help them graduate. And they even began working on their second album, Freak Show, while they were still in high school. And it's just, I don't know, man. I always say the best thing you can do is be in a band in high school. And talk about, I mean, maybe a lot of pressure. Who knows what that would actually be like, having to tour in high school and not really having that normal high school experience. But man, talk about a meteoric rise. Joining a competition, winning, not thinking you had a chance. Obviously, there's accounts of like, we just sent them our record. We thought that there was no chance of, send them tomorrow, no chance of them actually hearing and thinking it's good. But I can't remember the man's name, but the guy that was going through all the, the cassettes, he said like, after listening to 80 to 100 demos and then landing on Silverchairs, like it stood out like a sore thumb. It was way better than, and that could have been from the fatigue of all the listening to all the shitty stuff, which does happens. And exactly what we're talking about with Slomosa, like you just hear it and you just know right away. And he's like, this song tomorrow could be a mega hit. Like I need these guys to see what they're about. And it's such a cool opportunity. I love that, they just sent it in and they obviously didn't think they had a shot. And then they got that shot and they really executed on it. And, had this awesome album that really, it's when you put it through the lens of them being 15, because people will talk about this album like it's not that complex. It's not, the lyrics aren't that deep. But then when you think like how young they were, I mean, it is perfect. It really is exactly what the music that you play when you're 15 years old. I mean, simple is better when you're younger, and louder is simple. Like it's just and they were really talented. I mean, like that is a great, like I say, a great drum track, great vocals, great guitar for that age. And like,
and I think something that happens, which I'm certainly guilty of too from time to time, is that somewhere along the way, something being good eventually gets equated with something being innovative or something being complex. And for something to be good, it does not have to be neither innovative nor complex. And when you put it through the lens, as you said, of them being 15, like, for those of you out there who play instruments, like you remember those first times that you had the ability and the freedom to turn the volume all the way up, play loud, and begin to make stuff yourself, if that's something that you've ended up doing. And there's something that's, it's like a drug. It's got to be, there's something intoxicating about it. And there's something, that's uncharted territory for you. You're so young at that point, and trying to put myself in their shoes at 15 and to encounter that type of whirlwind where, you submit to a contest, you win. And the next thing you know, your album's getting released in the United States and it sells over 1 million copies within 3 months, and you're all over MTV and you're touring. I can't imagine what that would be like, for the guys in the band, for their manager, for their parents, for their support system, for their classmates. I mean, people throw around the term meteoric rise quite frequently. But if there was ever a time to apply it, I think it would be for Silverchair, just kind of striking lightning at the perfect time where that type of music was what everybody wanted. And for them to come, out of Australia at such a young age and scratch that itch and really hit the bullseye, I think, with their first album. And, by all accounts, it seemed like, they had a really, really great, direction from their team and from their producer. And, when you speak of the album itself, there's not anything innovative about it. There's not anything that like really wows you from, I think, a technical standpoint, but it scratches an itch. It's so consistent, and it's so clear, I think, with what it's trying to accomplish. And they're so good at conveying what they want to convey, which is they're just making really great, loud rock music, great tone, and really, really awesome melodies, which, when you once again, acknowledge that they're coming from teenagers, it's unbelievably impressive.
Yeah. Daniel Johns was quoted and he said, "It's just 3 Australian kids thrashing it out in the studio. And that's exactly how it sounds. They're just kids being kids." And when you take Tomorrow, the chorus and them singing Fat Boy, the way they like, it is, it's a great melody. It's a great hook. It's like, it's awesome. It's a really, it's no surprise that it got picked up and it was like really big around the world. Yeah. And, it's awesome. I love that they captured this, right? Yeah. And one of the themes that I want to talk about, the hard rock music, punk rock, grunge rock, like them being the age they were. Like if we had a band that came out and they were like 60 years old and they tried to play music like this, it wouldn't make any sense,
Right.
right? Like even to the people that live, especially to the people that are from that time, they'd be like, look at these. I mean, they basically would call them posers, even though it may come from a genuine spot. And then, same thing. Like if the older you get, I think the harder it is to relate to the angsty lyrics if you weren't there when it happened.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the bands like we said before. Nostalgia is a very powerful drug. Obviously, the Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, the music that you listened to when you were young, and it's different for every generation. But the music you listened to when you were young, you are going to die on the battlefield defending them, and why it means a lot to you. And so you'll still be able to connect it. But if there was a band that came out of that time that you didn't really listen to, say the Helmets of the world,
right?
Like when you go to the show and you weren't a fan, and now they're older singing the songs that they were singing back then, it's really hard to connect to. And anyway, so like them being so young and putting out this music, I think it was perfect. It made all the right sense to become a hit, and I think that.
Yeah,
it
dude,
still is.
It's so perfect. And one critique that I see of the band from time to time, and something that maybe at another point in time I would be keen to also get in on, because I'm such a big listener of the lyrics and I enjoy analyzing lyrics. Like, you could make the case like, Silverchair, particularly that first album, Frogstomp, like some of their lyrics and songs are a little bit sophomoric in their presentation. But like, you have to realize again, like, you're 15, like you're just beginning to mature, and like, they attempted to write about some pretty big concepts. Like they're talking about like money, success, war, disaster, death, all of these things, like really kind of at the first point in your life where you start, studying those things and acknowledging that those things exist in the world. And I think it's just such a perfect time capsule and such a perfect presentation of like the first thoughts that a young person has about some of these things. And once again, like it's a perfect example that like something can be so good because it's straightforward and because it is what it is, and there's not really necessarily anything hidden in it, and it's just a perfect encapsulation, I think, of that point in a lot of people's lives when you're considering those things for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely the time the music was coming out, I love the 3-piece band playing music, not super edited and produced, just raw. And like you're saying, it's one thing to have one 15-year-old that is like really good at
like a
music.
virtuoso. Those happen from time. Like I always think of like Derek Trucks when he was 12 playing with the Allman Brothers kind of thing.
Yeah. And like, but to have 3 guys that are actually best friends to be able to form a band and have it work out that doesn't happen very much.
And to write the music too. Yeah.
Usually that one kid that's really good is playing with kids that are in the seniors of the school or something. They play up. But if you're playing with the kids that are your friends and stuff, that really is special. And I'm very jealous of that experience to make it to such high heights. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So when getting into the songs on Frogstomp, I'm always drawn to I suppose what we would call side A of the album, the first 4 or 5 songs. And I think right from the jump, I mean, the trio, I mean, really the first 4 songs that started with Israel's Son, Tomorrow, Fault Line, and Pure Massacre, immediately from the jump what this band is going to be about on this album and what they're trying to do. And we say from time to time, whenever 3-piece bands come up, and something I'm always fascinated by is like how 3 people can create that much noise, when you've only got 3 instruments that are playing right there. And that's evident right from the jump, I think. And the producer, is on record as saying like, hey, like we're going to make this loud and, it's going to be in your face. And I think right from Israel's Son, there's just so much noise coming from it. And, you can tell how much fun these guys are having just playing these really, really heavy riffs. And I think there's a bunch of songs right from the beginning too, where it's just like super powerful riffs and then things kind of slow down. And then, there's a tempo change towards the end of the song and they just start rocking. And it's just, it just scratches an itch, I think, where it's like, not everything has to be unbelievably complex or complicated. And like, songs can be easy to play or on the easier end of playing and still be good and still be worthy of people's attention.
Yeah. And that first song, Israel's Son, love it. I love the muffled, froggy bass line that they come in with. I think that's where Frogstomp name came from. No, there's a story behind that. But a lot of people said they were rip-off. Like this came out after Cobain passed away, and they had a lot of people saying that they were Nirvana rip-offs or wanting to be like them. And but they've said that they didn't really listen to a lot of Nirvana, and they like
I don't
Pearl
even
Jam
understand that critique that much either.
Long blonde hair, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's got to be like that in the 3-piece thing, because I don't really feel
other than that. Yeah,
I don't feel anything that relates to Nirvana with their music. It's less punky than Nirvana's. Like this is just rock music.
More Meat Puppets-esque.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Which the world needs more of, anyways.
And this Israel's Son, like I can hear the Eddie Vedder influence in his singing for sure. And to no surprise, I mean, what a great person to. Everybody has their influences, and remember, these kids were 15. Yeah. So.
Think about the things that you were influenced by at 15,
and how you, and how
even
you
just like making
yourself.
Artistic decisions, at that age. I mean, we have to take that into account, obviously. And the second song is, in my opinion, is the crown jewel of this album, obviously, and certainly the
band
most commercially successful song, which is Tomorrow, which was it was their ticket to the big time. And once again, the fact that they were able to create a song like that, say what you will, whatever about the lyrics, but it's a fantastic song. And I love that video of them playing at the VMAs on top of the facade of the building. I believe during the pre-show. And it's just, one, they had the talent to do it. Number two, they received the support and the interest from the people that could make it happen, but they didn't shy away from the moment when it came to playing these songs, owning them, and performing live. It's not just that they were able to create magic in the studio or that they were, certainly advanced for their age, but they had that ability to go out live and entertain people, which is an entirely different piece of the puzzle. That I think you can have the studio prowess and you can have the creative mind, but to be able to capture people's attention live is an entirely different skill. And they had that too.
In the words of the Doobie Brothers, taking it to the streets.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Tomorrow, the reason I love it is it's very dynamic. It comes in, it's got the guitar, it's low, and then it really jumps up big. And it seems like I said, it's very dynamic. It goes up and down in a progressive manner, and it's just like, it's a little bit more, say, complex in the way that it's arranged.
Yeah. Well, we keep talking.
It's so great.
Yeah, we keep talking about the noise of this album, and obviously that is one of the enduring themes. But I think like there's a blueprint in a lot of these songs that's time tested. It's sturdy in terms of the way that they're constructed, and they resort to that blueprint a lot, where it's like it kind of comes in, and the drums will kick in, the guitar gets a little bit louder, and then they're riffing. But the nuance that they open a lot of these songs with is perfectly juxtaposed to the end of the songs, where they're just playing as loudly as they can. And it's one thing just to go in and blow the doors off, but they also showcase that they could play with a lot of nuance. Like I think especially the drummer Ben Gillies, like he's a real star of this album, I think. And in terms of at that age to be able to play an instrument like that, I'm unbelievably impressed by the drumming. I mean, you're a drummer, like you understand, like that age, like when you're still growing and everything, having the stamina to play like that.
He's pounding the drums.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just no frills rock and roll that's in the image of everything that came before it, which you can do that. You don't have to make anything new. You can build on your influences and create something special, which is something that they certainly did. I think Dark Horse here, I think my favorite song on this album might be Fault Line.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you write that. I love it. I actually watched the music video. I watched I think they had 4 music videos from this album. I think Cicada, Tomorrow, Fault Line, and Israel's Son.
I think so. 4. Yeah.
Maybe Pure Massacre got 8, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. It has, this album, like, the critique would be that it all sounds really similar. And I would say that it is really hard, because I was a musician at a young age. I mean, once you have your influence, you have the way you play, it's hard to really understand and how to mix it up authentically. And like, I'm not surprised the way that this album sonically sounds similar throughout each song.
Right.
So, I don't know if that's not really a critique. That's just an observation. I don't mind it because I think they did exactly what they set out to do. And that's, kids thrashing it out. But yeah, this one's really big. Like you said, epic chorus. It's big, has good jams, has good little pre-chorus and whatnot, and just heavy.
Yeah.
In like a it's like a simple heavy and non-aggressive, just like really, it's just a good rock song.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
They spend so much time on this album in the same creative space, but it's not like they're wasting their time. Like they're spending time in a space that works, in a space that people have an appetite for. And there's a few songs like Fault Line and I think Shade too. It's like things kind of die down, like, 3/4 of the way through the song. And then you hear the cymbals crash and then everything opens up again. And you can tell, it's like like the first part of the song is the buy-in for when, the drummer can count them back in and then they just rip. And I can only imagine just like how exciting it must have been to record those songs and put them out, on a major label. It's like every kid's dream, whereas most kids are out there and they're getting yelled at by the neighbors because they're playing too loud in the garage. It's like, no, like you're in the studio, you're being encouraged to do this by people who are paying you money to do it. And millions of people are going to learn your songs.
And every 15-year-old drummer's dream is to have the song go down low, to have a big build, and then, click them back in or come back in. Like you be the one who brings everybody back in. So don't be surprised when you hear that in this album a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to this album, like, as I said before, I spend exponentially more time with the first 4 or 5 songs than I do the back half of the album. But, there are some songs on the back half, I think, that are certainly standouts. I love Madman, the instrumental song that they have on here.
Yeah.
I believe they used to use that to open their shows from time to time, which is just great. Right from the jump, they're just going to turn it up and play loud before Daniel Johns even really says anything. And it's a good choice, and you can tell.
Good
like
warm up.
Yeah, dude. Like I was studying. It's like their version of Seven Bridges Road that the Eagles used to warm up with, except they're not singing. They just turn it up. Like when I was listening through this earlier to write some notes, like I felt inclined, like on every single song, just to write the note, these dudes fucking love riffs, and I ended up writing that for Madman, and it's true, dude. It's just like it's heater of a riff after heater of a riff. And certainly the other thing too, dude, like for being 15, Daniel Johns was an unbelievable singer then as he is now. And the fact like that one is able to navigate aging and sing in such a way that it doesn't sound like he's 15 kind of thing going on.
Oh, very mature voice for when this came out. Yeah. Incredible. And what was I going to say? I just lost it. I was looking at Madman. But yeah, his voice was really special that's exactly why it was hard for me to believe that they were 15, because I thought about the way me and my friends sounded when we were 15, and it was not like
it's hard for a lot of people to believe that they're 15.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Daniel, I think he was voted I don't know, top 50 most underrated guitarists in rock history or whatever. Like very, like you said, the riffs that come out and the stuff that he did at that age and moving forward. I mean, he really was a talented guitarist, and people probably think of him for his vocals first, but definitely take a closer listen to the guitar. And I'd like to hear what Drew would say about that, about his guitar work and stuff, because he has the guitarist ear. He's got
the ear for it. Yeah,
not
exactly.
Us, yeah.
Is he a Silverchair guy? I'm not sure if we've ever talked to Drew about.
A little bit, yeah. I think a little bit. Nothing. He's more of a Bush guy.
That's for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of Bush fans.
If that tells you anything about Drew, our
Bush
producer, he's a Bush guy.
Bush is back in. Kind of interesting.
The little things, man.
Yeah, dude. An interesting through line here, like. And just give me some rope here. I'm going to tie it all together here. But
land the plane, dude. You got it.
We were talking earlier about the Manning cast and how it's been going on for 3 years. And I think there's an element as with Silverchair, similar to what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, this is a really intriguing concept, like these two old quarterbacks that are brothers, like having a show, like an alternate feed, in the same way that it's like, oh, hey, did you hear there's a new album out from these guys that are 15? And like both of those things, I think especially Silverchair, 30 years now for Frogstomp, like it has held the attention much longer than it would have if people were only tuning in for the novelty of them being so young and getting signed and having success. Like there's a certain staying power here that can only come from the fact that they did have talent and that they were writing great songs, aside from them just being so young. And it's interesting, that I think that people's interest in them has long outlasted the novelty of it. There's still people that listen to this album and seek it out, and there's still people that are discovering it, and then it prompts them to follow along in Silverchair's discography, and then maybe perhaps get into Daniel Johns' stuff and listen to stuff that the Ben and Chris had ended up doing after Silverchair broke up. Like there's a level of substance here that I think is the ultimate prize in this, more so than the fact that it's still mind-blowing to me that they were that age.
Yep, and we've officially beaten the dead horse of how old they were. That's what has been the narrative.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's in the same way. It's like every cliche exists for a reason, and like there's a 100%. Certain narrative around these bands for a reason. It's like you can't talk about this band without evaluating them through that lens, and there's a reason why it's the most consistently brought up thing. Beating the dead horse about it, but it's an essential part of their story.
Yeah, I was listening to Ryan Russillo, and he was talking about how he hates the word narrative because like sports writers use that to cover up, like it's just when something is said that is true comes up, like they say it's a narrative, like it's not. No,
you're
true.
Just reporting it.
Yeah, but let's take a look. So Silverchair has 5 albums. Frogstomp, 1995, they were 15 years old. Freak Show, 1997, they were 17 years old. Graduating high school, and then Neon Ballroom 1999. That means that they were 19. So their first 3 albums came when they're 15, 17, and 19. And then 2002 was Diorama, which will put them at what, 22?
22, 23, yeah. They were all born in 79, so depending on when it was released.
And then their final album altogether was Young Modern in 2007. So that, I mean, just the first 3 albums, and the drummer Ben, I remember reading or listening to him saying that, when they went on to their next 2 albums, and so they were signed to a 3-year record deal with Murmur. So this first 3, they knocked them out from 15 to 19, and they wanted to keep the same feel and the same energy, and no doubt about it, they did that. Right? They kept true to themselves, and they stayed rock and roll, and they said they think they did that really well, and they're happy for that. And I think that people, will probably, they maybe get a little annoyed, or they want different stuff, and they say the first one's always the best. He said
people are always going to be unhappy because when you keep making the same stuff, they're like, why don't they branch out? But when they branch out, they're like, but I like 10. Why aren't they doing that again? Like Pearl Jam fans especially. Yeah, it's lose.
Exactly, but having 3 albums before age 20 is
isn't that crazy?
Oh, well, dude, just thinking that they're turning 45 right now.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the crazy thing.
That's not that much older than I am.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about considering like this is a high school band, right? It has its origins even before high school.
Wild.
Can you imagine like the shelf life that they had as a band relative to like every other high school band out there? Like most high school bands last like 7 months, and like these guys, they were banned. They officially broke up for good in 2011. So for all intents and purposes, getting together in '94 and riding this rocket ship for over 15 years is really no small testament to them, their talents, and then also I think as people, their ability to navigate that. Because I mean, we all know how much life changes and how much we all individually change from 15 to 20 to 25 to 30, without having to contend with the fact that you're an internationally known act with a lot of expectations and pressure on you. Like that's mind-boggling to me.
Think about this. So they disbanded in 2011, 12 because the spark. They said that the spark wasn't there between the 3 of them, and they just were, it was a mutual thing. And they were just like, yeah. So that means that they were 31 years old. right? They had a whole ass music career before 30.
Isn't that crazy?
They toured, they had their, and then they like, I'm turning 31. That's like literally me being done, which is true. I mean, javelin, but like, music has a much longer, I mean, people don't hit their stride until 20. Well, I guess it's getting younger and younger nowadays, but to have a band and have 15 years in the bank before age 31 is,
it's like,
bravo.
It's like speed running life.
Yeah, dude. Like,
it's like
you can
most people haven't even broken into the
back,
thing they want to do, and they're like, all right, like that's it.
Yeah, dude. Doctors and physicians still have like 3 more years of school at that point. Like he could go, like they could have went back and done anything. There's like, when you're 30 years old, like, I mean, I'm gonna have to find a career at some point, and like I start at the same point they did. Mine was athletics, I guess, the same thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it's just so impressive. It's so impressive.
Yeah, and all the guys have gone on to do different things, and it's it is interesting, and I think the other thing too, it's like there must have been, after you get over the animosity or the disagreements that precipitated a breakup of a band like that, it's like there's probably a certain level of freedom that comes with it, where it's like I've had the success, like, presumably, I've had the financial success as well. So I have the latitude to kind of investigate different things now. Because even like from an artistic standpoint, like even in a life standpoint too, obviously, like 31 is so young to just be able to wipe the slate clean and do whatever it is that you want to do. And obviously, I can't say that I've spent much time with the projects that Gillies and Joannou have gone on to do, but Daniel Johns has gotten into some really, really interesting things over the years with his own artistic career. And it's just, it's cool to follow people's paths like that after they do, that thing, certainly at such a young age too. Damn.
Yeah, Daniel, he's moved into some. He released 3 albums between an EP in 2015, Aerial Love, and an album Talk, and then in 2022 he released Future Never, and it's so obviously it's just a completely different artist than the music that he wrote when he was young, and I applaud that so much. I think it's really well produced, music for the times that are happening. There's a lot of so electronic and produced beats, and he's really into it, and he is so passionate about that music, and it's kind of exciting, and like I'm really happy for the guy, because that's not an easy thing to break away from. If you're the helmet guy, you're the helmet guy for life. Like we were talking about how hard it is for him to move into another, like
the cautionary tale of Janie Lane.
Yeah, the cherry pie guy. Like it's not easy to, especially when you break out at 15 and you are in this box. And
to reinvent yourself. And even the thing is too, like for the rest of their lives, like their byline is going to be like so and so of the the 90s hit sensation Silverchair, but and to that can be a part of your legacy, but you can still have the ability and certainly should have the option to explore different areas. And I'm glad that it's more. I'm more impressed by their desire to just do that than to attempt to reconstitute the past and keep milking Silverchair for what it would be.
Sure.
To say nothing of obviously the personality issues that probably kept the band from continuing and so on. But I don't know. It's kind of nice. I would take that. Like you do something for till 30, and then you got from 31 to God knows when to do whatever else it is you want to. Well, hey, that's what we're doing with Grunge Bible. We'll be done with Grunge Bible potentially at a young age, and then we got the rest of our lives to do whatever else.
And hopefully our byline won't be, Ethan
of Grunge Bible. Of obscure internet fame.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk about Frogstomp and Silverchair, and it was fun to go back and listen. I find them to be they're a perfect mix-in for me, this album. Like take those top 4 songs, put them in your favorite playlist, and let it ride. You'll always be happy when you come back and you get some, get the Fat Boy or the Israel Sun dropping in at the right time. So, they did a great job of carving out a space in the music world at the time, and they forever have that. No one can take that away from them.
No one can take that away from them, and no one can take Frogstomp away from us. It's a sick album, and every time we post about it,
one of my
people talk
favorite
about it
covers.
and they love it.
One of my absolute favorite covers to an album. Like,
yeah, dude.
I would love to get the vinyl just to put it on my wall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So
I agree with you, man. So yeah, good talking about some Silverchair. It's long overdue, over 4 years into this thing, and we're just getting around to this one. But it's kind of nice, you know, at least from a personal perspective. I'm happy that we've left some of these uncovered. Until now.
Absolutely.
It's nice to have something this like entry level to talk about, like a band like Silverchair. So
yeah,
hell yeah,
awesome. So that wraps up the most important part of the podcast. Chris, is there anything that you'd like to give to the people? Maybe a song that they should be listening to? Maybe from Slomosa? That's kind of what I'm hoping to hear.
It seems to be a strong... The forecast is indicating there's a very strong chance of that. But before I give them a song, I would like to give them my gratitude. Thanks for checking us out this week. Thanks for sticking with us for however long you've been with us. Maybe you share us with a friend. Maybe you join the Patreon at a level. Maybe you make your own level. Maybe you buy some merch. Maybe you leave a review. There's a lot of things you can do. But above all, just thanks for tuning in and spending some time with us today. But yeah, I do have a song of the week. And that song of the week is absolutely going to be from Slomosa, and it is abso-fucking-lutely going to be their song Horses that they closed with.
Hell yeah.
It is just, it's top tier. I've been listening to it over and over and over and over again for the last like week or so, kind of leading up to the show, after the show, driving home, the next day going to the gym, the next day going for a walk. It's fucking perfect. And they're definitely, this obsession is going to stick around for a little while. That's for sure.
Love it. Cannot wait to listen to some Horses. You know, I love Grand Paradise, some Horses in the in the chat. That's great. So for my song of the week, and I'm not sure, I don't think I did it last week, but a good friend of ours, the singer in my band in high school, Sam Culp, a serious music connoisseur, one of those people like we talk about that when they give you a recommendation, you listen to it.
Yep.
He had his second account that he's been posting some old stuff talking. I love it. I actually, he got me thinking a lot, and I definitely want to have him on at some point.
That's a great idea. I would love that.
And it could be the Perfect Songs episode. It could be anything, but like I don't know if you've actually ever met him. Oh, you did at the Wonder Years.
I met him at the Wonder Years in 2023.
Of course, you ran into him at the Wonder Years.
Yep.
So you have met him, but like you and him are so much alike, and you would love to have an extended conversation with him, especially about music.
Oh yeah.
So he posted a song the other day, and it was "Canola Fields" by James McMurdy, and he wrote, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. He just wrote how it was such a perfect song. It was a great, like, well written songwriting masterpiece. And I listened to it for the first time. It wasn't something that I had listened to before I saw this, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out. And he wrote, I'll just read. He said, "Songwriter Sunday, this may be one of the most perfectly written and well-crafted songs I've ever heard. I've been a fan of James for quite some time. It has a way of storytelling that is so simple, yet paints the picture so perfectly that you can watch a movie of it in your head as a song play. This song and the whole album really gives you goosebumps and tingly feelings. And it really is a beautiful, well-written, acoustic, kind of like country rock. Like I guess it would be country, but in it, and like later, he says, I'm cashing in on a 30-year crush, and you can't be young to do that. And I love that line. I love that line because there are some things that you can't do until, like, you know, when you're young, you think you can do whatever you want and have all these, but there's experiences and there's stuff that takes time, and like cashing in on a 30-year-old crush is such a,
that's great writing, man. I love that. That's kind of one of the ones that you hear and you just kind of stop and think about it.
Yeah, especially because I'm getting older, and like, I mean, I'm still single, so there's a lot of, like, it's an interesting thought that
dude,
you know, figuring out where your life will go.
It's funny. So I just so James McMurdy is the son of a writer named Larry McMurdy, who I have just found out that I really, really like. So going back a few months ago, I posted like a a wordy Grunge Bible post where I was probably talking about something, as we tend to do on the page. And somebody DM'd me and was like, hey, like, I think you'd really like this book, like, given where, like, I think I was talking about something having to do with like the point in life that we're at and like the future and all that stuff. He's like, hey, I think you'd really like this book. It resonated with me when I was that age, and I think it would with you based off of like what you were talking about. And it was a Larry McMurtry book called All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers. And I immediately, as soon as the guy, he DM'd me and he told me, he's like, I think you'd like it. I've immediately ordered a copy and I read it.
Wow.
And it was a fantastic book. And it's, Larry McMurtry is written so many different books, and I'm just starting to get into him, and I want to keep reading him because he's a talented writer. So it's kind of funny that, that's his son, that his son is James, and certainly has the gift of pen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That book sounds, I'm really intrigued by that title. Like that.
Yeah. It was a really good novel. Yeah. I can send you my copy. I finished it. I'll send it down to you, dude.
I actually would love that because I've been meaning to read. We just got a book in the mail about Lollapalooza that I'm excited to read.
Yeah, me too. Bit. I haven't gotten mine yet, but it's coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't.
Dang. Yeah, I'm excited to carve out some time to read, and that sounds like a great spot.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was good. It was a really, really solid book. So now I've got the dad stuff. Now I'm going to listen to the son stuff, and that's
really cool. I did not expect that.
Well, it's funny. Like you
never know what Grunge Bible's going to expect.
And I was like, that's like a specific enough surname that like, I was like, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it was.
That's so cool,
dude. That's what it's all about, dude.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Grunge Bible podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Drew McFadden, our producer, for turning this around in such short notice as you always do. Not really, but you do a wonderful job. And thank you, Chris, for taking the time to record this. We did it. Another week in the books.
Another week in the books.
Can't take away from us. The streak continues.
No, man. You can't. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you all next week. Rock and roll. Take care. Stay heavy. All that stuff.
Peace.
Peace.